Kojo, nice to see you. Good morning.
Nice to be here.
Excellent. Well, it's a big event, big occasion. Now, of course, one of the things that we would be thinking about when we consider the state of Ghana is where we were last year compared to where we are this year. Now, we will also be seeking to measure the president's performance against promises. Why do we do that? We'll start with the economy. We'll start with the cedi, not doing very well, but we were told when the problems began last year that they were external forces out of our control. Is that still the case?
Well, thank you. Today the president will be speaking to about 40 different subjects. About 40 different subjects. Because the state of Ghana is not limited to one or two subjects. Even under the economy, yes, you have issues of the currency, you have issues of growth, you have issues of the various sectors and how they are performing, you have issues of jobs, etc., all within the basket of the economy. If we take the currency, for example, yes, last year the US currency strengthened and major currencies in the world experienced some deep shocks. Ghana's economy, as compared to many of those other currencies, did relatively pretty well, even if you compare to the kind of depreciation we had had in previous periods. When the US dollar had not necessarily strengthened, you notice that Ghana's economy did pretty well. In the early parts of this year, I think that the currency has had, another shaking, but the Bank of Ghana is quite clear on what the challenge has been and what they are quickly doing to ensure that they arrest the situation. And just like how it was handled last year, I think we can give them the benefit of the doubt and confidence that they will arrest the situation in the shortest possible time. I'm sure that within, I don't want to give timelines, so I'll say adds to speculation, but yeah, in the shortest possible time.
So this recent challenge is something within our ambit to control.
It's
not an external
control. It is within our ambit to control.
Did we cause it?
It is within our ambit to control. It is part of the measures in managing the economic situation, one of which I think has been misread by the market. If you read the IMF exit reports, the last time they were here, they mentioned that the managers of the currency, the Bank of Ghana, needs to deepen communication with the banks so that for all their measures, the banks don't misread to cause some escalation in, may I say, demand or pricing. And I think what needs to happen is that we need to deepen that so that there's no misreading of what the Bank of Ghana is working at doing. And I think that as the Bank of Ghana works to
struggle of the city is because the Bank of Ghana didn't communicate well.
I haven't said that. I have said that
with the banks.
I have said that we have been admonished to improve the kind of engagement that exists between the Bank of Ghana and then the major trading platforms like the banks. And it is something that they need to deepen so that there is no misreading of what the Bank of Ghana.
This is what you told me in response to my question of whether we caused it.
Yes.
So it was because of this misreading.
And I'm saying to you that as we improve that conversation with, or as the Bank of Ghana improves that conversation with the banks and the traders, there will no longer be that kind of misreading that could trigger that kind of demand and pricing challenges that you saw in the market recently.
Right. So is this one of the 40 issues that the president will be addressing?
The president will be speaking to about 40 different subjects. I won't be going into details until he does that.
Well, I mean, don't give us what he will say.
No,
but will this be one of the things
he will speak about the economy and all the things that go into the economy,
including the currency,
about the economy and everything that goes into it. Don't worry, it's just a few hours away to go.
Okay, all right, I'll hold my horses. But let's talk about all the other things that will come up. Naturally, security has become a big issue recently, and in fact, it appears to be a sort of a resurgence because earlier in the president's tenure, we had difficulties with, we used to call them vigilante groups. Now we're trying to be more accurate. They are militia groups. They were, well, going on rampage, doing all kinds of unpalatable things. The president made a number of promises. Each time he said it would stop, something else happened. And then he said it would stop, and something else happened. And then it went quiet. Suddenly we have recent resurgence. What's the president going to tell us about the state of security in
So let me take it back. The president hasn't made promises. The president admonished the security agencies to deal with the challenge because, as he has said, one of the traditional challenges that have occurred, and if you've watched the testimony at the commission, which I know you've watched and you've analyzed in times past, one of the challenges over the period has been that the security agencies have been scared to act because they fear political interference. And the president is clear in his mind that one of the ways to deal with it is to ensure that there is no political interference, is to subject even the political leadership and the security couples to a certain high test of professionalism. That whatever they do and the decisions they make will be subjected to the test of professionalism. You'll notice, for example, that unlike what has happened in times past, President Akufo-Addo calls it out and asks the security agencies to deal with it. Right. B, in an instance like Ayawaso West Ward, where you have a by-election, you haven't necessarily had violence at polling stations, but you have had incidents of violence reported, I think, at one particular place. The president has said he's not just going to sit down and say, arrest and deal with it anymore. He's going to enhance, he's going to broaden the kind of response he's giving to it. So he wants a full-scale public inquiry to go into it and let the gaps be exposed for everybody to see where the gaps are. Initially, for example, we had all sorts of narratives that this person was the one behind it, this person was the one who had caused it. We are beginning to see before our very eyes an unfolding of what the real issues are. And the commissioners who are there, very well respected, achieved persons, are people who we all can believe will help us come up with recommendations that can add or augment to the measures to nip this once in the bud. So you have had this go on for several years. Talents in Tripoli, Akwetia, Etiwa, several places. But we have an opportunity to nip it in the bud once and for all. The president is committed to it. The ministers for national security are committed to it. This administration is committed to it. This administration doesn't say violence begets violence. This administration doesn't say somebody deserves it or that the blood is, chicken blood or something. This administration says that it is bad. The security agencies must deal with it, and if the response is not coming well enough, this administration says full-scale commission of inquiry, lay the cards out there. I've heard your analysis and other analysis that talk about senses of poor coordination. Are those the real challenges? So that it is not as though Kojo Oppong Nkrumah is hiding in a room and sponsoring militia to go out there, or vigilantes, or whatever expression you may use. But perhaps there are genuine challenges in the system that are giving rise to these things. How do we confront it and deal with it? Because we must deal with it. In Nigeria, in some of the places where you've had terrorist groups, they started as some of these groups. And so it is something that the president is very committed to, the administration is committed to, and that is why you're having this openness in an attempt to deal with it.
Right. Now, speaking of attempt to deal with this, I don't know if government has noticed that since the commission started its work, the police investigation appears to have stalled. Those who made a police report, Sam George and so forth, they say they have had no progress on the report that they made. And it looks as if the police are waiting for the commission to finish.
It is my understanding, and if you read first of all, there were those who were saying that the commission has not even been properly set up. There's no constitutional instrument. I'm happy we've been able to come to a resolution of that matter. And I get disappointed, by the way, let me just do an aside. When our colleagues in the media let people off the hook, when they do some of these things and it turns out to be falsehoods, we need to call them out as falsehoods, as they are. There is a CI. If you read the terms of reference of that CI, it says that there needs to be a proper investigation into Ayawaso West Ward. There needs to be a proper fact-finding. So that investigation that the police initially sought to do, it is my understanding that with this enhanced approach, will be resolved in this inquiry. The facts that the police were seeking to get to the bottom of, it will be made available here at this commission of inquiry. So those facts will be made available.
But then the fear is that the police will not be able to use that to prosecute.
I think that people misread the law. I want to give you the case. It's the Republic versus Rekugobe and another. That another is Kojo Oppong Nkrumah. Read the entire judgment. It's by Justice Mafusao, appeals court judge, sitting as an additional high court judge at the time. And he's quite categorical. People should read the ruling that you cannot sustain a prosecution which is based on the report of the Commission of Inquiry. Right. When you yourself have not got a proper docket that assembles a body of evidence that you want to convince the court about. For example, if something transpired here and criminality was involved, and I set up a commission of inquiry, or the president set up a presidential commission of inquiry, and that commission of inquiry does its fact-finding, generally in the broad sense, and comes to resolutions. It does not mean that that crime has been excused. I think we should read the ruling quite clearly. It does not mean that that crime has been excused. What it means is that for the one who seeks to prosecute, if you read the constitutional instrument that was issued for the Commission of Inquiry into Ghana at 50, the persons who were given immunity ab initio. It was issued by Betty Modi-Drisu. And I think that for our colleagues in the media and analysts who want to do this, go for the document, read it, it's there. They were given immunity, read the judgment, it's there. It is because of those, and Justice Mafusau went to pains to explain why that charge sheet, and if you look at the particulars of the offense, which were based on the Commission of Inquiry's report, could not sustain a prosecution in the courts. Right. So it is not a closed matter. And I've seen people try to use that as an excuse and a basis that therefore it means people cannot be prosecuted. No, let's read the judgment. It is there in black and white.
So your reading of the case law is that nobody appearing before this commission is immune from prosecution.
That is not my understanding.
Anything they say.
You can take the Ghana at 50 CI, and I want to challenge you, Kojo. I know you are an astute journalist. Pick the CI for Ghana at 50. Pick the CI and spot the differences in the two.
Okay, we will do that, and in fact, we will keep an eye on what the president has to say about this and other issues when he speaks later this morning. Until then, though, thank you so much. Kojo Oppong Nkrumah is the Minister for Information. He's also the Honourable Member of Parliament for Okwase Ayeribi.